Hey, it's Jared. In this video, I'm comparing the Quest Pro versus the new Quest 3 from Meta. And I hate the fact that I'm making this video because when I purchased the Quest Pro, I felt that I was purchasing an elite piece of technology that I was at least going to be able to use for a while before getting dethroned by something else. Which, to be fair, the Quest Pro came out a little over a year ago, and the Quest 3 is a new product. But the fact that the Quest 3 is half the price of the Quest Pro, it leaves me a little frustrated. So we're going to talk about the benefits of each of these devices and my experiences as a person who occasionally games with his VR, but spends most of his time working using virtual displays and working for longer periods of time with my VR devices in apps like Immersed. So let's first talk about the Pro. One of the things that I absolutely loved about the Pro was the fact that it was all one piece of equipment that also had a better balance to it. After having used the Quest 2 for a while, even with the extended battery on the Quest 2, it was still relatively unbalanced and not comfortable to wear long term. The Quest Pro changed that for me. This is an extremely comfortable device to wear for long periods of time. And the fact that it is more opened on the front means that it does not put any wear and tear on the bridge of your nose if you're somebody like me who wears glasses, or it doesn't pull down on your face much because it is a very well balanced piece of equipment. And on top of that, the battery life was great and everything overall was a great experience with the Quest Pro. And so when I would spend long hours in Immersed working from this device using multiple displays, which definitely improves my productivity, this device was the most comfortable to wear. It has high resolution displays, and I just have enjoyed all of the advancements in the actual software that has been able to utilize the features of the Quest Pro very well. And the Quest Pro with face tracking and all of that stuff was really great because it provided the most realistic experience that you could possibly have inside of one of these VR applications. So up until the release of the Quest 3, I was relatively satisfied with my Quest Pro. The pass-through cameras weren't that great, but overall everything else was a pretty good experience. So when I got the Quest 3 and I put it on for the very first time, the first thing that I realized was things seemed a little bit more responsive than with the Quest Pro. The hand tracking, which is pretty important in apps like Immersed, was challenging with the Quest Pro because it didn't track your hands relatively well. You really had to think about where your hand placement was if you were trying to do some sort of a gesture to achieve something like moving a seat or opening up a menu or selecting a button from one of those menus. You really had to be methodical with the Quest Pro. But with the Quest 3, everything was so much better with hand gestures. And so I found myself gravitating towards the Quest 3 simply because of that at first. But then there was one other limitation that was a massive one that was overcome with the Quest 3. And that's the ability that the high quality pass-through cameras give you in the Quest 3. When I was using the Quest Pro, anytime I had to do anything, Quest Pro comes off. And that disrupts your experience in most apps and games, especially apps that you're going to spend some time in. You take the headset off, the chances are you're not going to be in that game anymore, that app anymore. When you put the headset back on, something's going to disconnect, something's going to happen. It's just the nature of the device. And so it was frustrating. I never wanted to take the Quest Pro off until I knew I was done, and I would forego things like going and refilling a glass of water or something like that because I didn't want to get booted from the app and have to log back in or whatever. It was just easier to sit there and finish what I was doing in the Quest Pro. But with the Quest 3, I could actually use the pass-through cameras and get up and go refill a glass of water or something like that. I did not necessarily have to take the headset off. Now, yes, there are times you should take the headset off and get out of VR and roam around your house for a few minutes or something, reacclimate yourself to real life. But the Quest 3 could stay on for those small tasks that I needed to do. If I needed to step over to my actual computer, I could do that. If I needed to get up and stretch and wanted to see what was around me and not bonk my head on something, it was much easier to do that with the Quest 3 because of how good the pass-through cameras are. And so I found myself not using the Quest Pro. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Quest 3 is better in all ways. But the improvements to hand tracking and the pass-through cameras were big enough reasons for me to want to use the Quest 3 much more often. So what is the drawback of the Quest 3? I mean, it sounds pretty amazing overall so far, right? I did outfit it with the expanded battery, which definitely helps with balance, but this is still much more front heavy than the Quest Pro is. when I wear this, because of the nature of the device, it's pushing on my face. It definitely produces more fatigue wearing this thing long term because it's so much more front heavy. If you don't have the expanded battery, it's really front heavy, and that can wear and tear on your face after a while, especially if you're spending long periods of time in apps like Immersed, which are great for co-working. And so with that pulling on my face, not super comfortable to stay in the Quest 3 for long periods of time, especially being someone who wears glasses. I have ordered the prescription lenses that you can attach in the Quest 3, but they're still being produced and I've not yet received them. And so I have to wear the Quest 3 with glasses in order for me to see things that are far away more clearly. And so that pushes down on my glasses on the bridge of my nose, which is extra uncomfortable. But even without glasses on, this is not as comfortable a device to wear long term as the Quest Pro, because the Quest Pro is lighter weight and it's more balanced. Now, one of the other things that I noticed with the Quest 3 is that it does have a bit better battery life than the Quest Pro. Now, I'm talking about battery life that I get with the extended battery, so I recognize that there is a battery inside of the headset and that there's an expanded battery here. And so essentially this has two batteries, which means yes, it's going to have better battery life than the Pro. Without the expanded battery, the Pro definitely has better battery life. But with the expanded battery, you get a lot more battery life out of the Quest 3. In an app like Immersed, where I could spend many hours working, I would get 2.5 to 3 hours of battery life out of the Quest 3 with the expanded battery pack. Whereas with the Quest Pro, I would get somewhere between an hour and 45 to 2 hours maximum out of this device. And it would suffer a lot more if I had to get in and out of the application multiple times for any reason. Now, another thing that I seem to notice is that the Quest 3 seems a bit more stable. I don't know if it's because it does have a little bit more performance than the Quest Pro or what that is, but I found myself getting booted out of applications like Immersed far less on the 3 than I do on the Pro. So let's talk about the actual controls. Now, the controls on the Quest Pro are absolutely fantastic. They feel good. They're well form-fitted for my hand, and I feel very secure with these. And I found that when using the Quest controls, they're extremely responsive. They have built-in cameras as well, which help with their placement. And then, of course, the Quest Pro has its own built-in cameras. But I don't necessarily know if all of these cameras are needed, because the Quest 3 has such good cameras that the controllers don't need cameras at all. And these are a little bit smaller. They're a little bit smaller than the Quest Pro. I do prefer the Pro controllers, and from what I understand, you can connect the Pro controllers to the Quest 3, but I haven't done that yet. I've just went with the stock controllers, and these controllers are fine, but they definitely don't feel as good as the Quest Pro controls. As far as responsiveness goes, I haven't noticed any difference between these controls. I find myself not even using the controls that much with the Quest 3 because hand tracking is so good. And most of the time I am in apps where hand tracking is an option and I'm not needing the controls. And so that's why you may have noticed that I haven't even taken the plastic wrap off of the control yet, because I've used these so seldomly because I just don't have to. Whereas on the Quest Pro, I almost always have to use the controls because hand tracking just is not that great. So if you're like me and you primarily want to use your VR for your work, whether it be to have multiple displays, larger displays, or just the flexibility to have that and be able to maneuver around anywhere you want, which device should you choose? Well, I really think it comes down to comfort, because the Quest Pro provides that comfort. It is a device that I could wear all day long and not feel any fatigue on my face at all. Overall, it's a much more comfortable device, and even though for long-term use I do have to plug into USB-C, I prefer the comfort of the Quest Pro over the Quest 3. But that comes with frustrations because the hand tracking and the pass-through is not as good. So I gravitate towards the 3 because it gives me that added experience. It's just not nearly as comfortable, and I find myself not being able to use it for longer periods of time. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. Now, if I had to choose one device and I was only going to keep one device, I would definitely go with the Quest 3. Not only because it's cheaper, but because it performs better and it has significantly improved pass-through cameras and hand tracking. All of those technology advancements make the VR experience much better. And I'd be willing to trade out a little bit of comfort for having better pass-through cameras and better hand tracking that leads to less frustration when I'm using the device in a VR experience. But what I'm really looking forward to is the visor from Immersed, which is going to provide a much lighter weight experience, something that I can wear all day long, and is supposed to provide an experience comparable to what we have with the Quest 3, with a fraction of the weight and a fraction of the fatigue of wear over long periods of time. If you're new to that, you don't even know what the visor is, definitely check out the link in the description below. It's going to revolutionize virtual work, which I think is going to be great. But if you had to choose one, I think you would be really happy with the Quest 3. I've got a link down in the description below. You know, Amazon has decent prices on the Quest 3, and because it's the holidays right now at the time I'm recording this, you can use that device all the way to the end of January and decide for yourself whether or not it is a good fit. So definitely check out those links that I've got in the description below to the Quest 3, to the Quest Pro, and if you have any questions or any thoughts, definitely share them down with me in the comment section below. Lastly, you definitely want to join our new newsletter, a newsletter that shares tips, tricks, thoughts, news, and all sorts of stuff related to tech weekly with you, and that link is down in the description below. And while I can't make a video for every little thing that comes across my desk and that excites me, I can share a little bit of that in an email with you. So if you'd like that, check out the link in the description below and sign up for free. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next one.